got a fantastic opportunity tomorrow on Sunday the 14th of June with the new moon in Gemini. I'm going to show you here how to use herbal medicine, simple herbs, to get the most out of this new moon. If you don't know me, hi, I'm Charlotte Webb. I'm a qualified medical herbalist and a student of medical astrology. And I'm going to be talking to you today about some simple herbs that you can use, but take into account any medications that you may be on, any health conditions that you may have, and always ask your healthcare professional if these herbs are going to be suitable for you. So that's the disclaimer. Let's get into it. New moon happens once a month. It is the darkest part where you can't see the moon in the sky at all. It is the opposite of a full moon. So every 2 weeks we will have either a full moon or a new moon. So it goes full moon, full moon, with various different stages in between. So tomorrow, Sunday the 14th, is the new moon, the darkest part, and it is traditionally the best time to plant new seeds, to set new intentions, and Gemini is going to be a fantastic opportunity to do this as well. This is a really logical, straightforward new moon where you can get some good traction on your manifestations. Now, Gemini is the sign of the zodiac that is ruled by Hermes or Mercury. It's the third zodiac sign and it is for the majority of June. I've got a lot of Gemini placements in my chart, so I'm really familiar with this energy. It's the quickest moving sign because it's ruled by Mercury and Hermes. And in medical astrology, Gemini rules the nervous system, which if you're familiar with my work, you know I do a lot around. It also rules things that there are two of in the body. So hands, lungs, and also tubes and connective tissues as well. So this is going to be really helpful if you are one of my hypermobile followers as well. Gemini has a bad rap of having like a split personality, two personalities, which I think is really incorrect, because if you know any Geminis, you'll know that we have at least 12 personalities, not two, which can be really fun. And this leads nicely into what I think we're going to see a lot of in medical astrology in the next couple of decades, because there's so much more awareness now about late diagnosed autism and ADHD. And I think that Gemini rules that. If you look, and I have looked at the charts of a lot of neurodivergent folk, they usually will have prominent, quite debilitated Gemini placements. I'm including myself in this. I have a Gemini stellium in the 12th house, which if you know anything about astrology is quite painful. And the first 30 years of my life were quite difficult until I'd realised how I could best work with this energy, and I'm harnessing it better now. So there's proof in the pudding that the herbs I'm going to talk about and the all of the strategies that I talk about all the time on this channel, if you like this sort of thing, give me a follow, because I'm always talking about this sort of thing. The proof is in the pudding that this stuff works. It doesn't really matter whether you believe it or not. You can just give it a try and see if you feel the benefit, and your body will respond in some way. The nice thing about herbal medicine is you don't need to have any belief in it for it to work. It's very chemically active. It's just going to work anyway. The belief is a nice extra layer because it can get some sort of positive momentum going on with your mindset, but it's not a foundational thing that you need in order to benefit from herbs. So as I said, I think that Gemini rules autism, ADHD, any sort of learning difference. Gemini is going to come in there because Gemini is all about learning. It's all about thinking. It's all about mental processes. So there is a tendency with strong Gemini placements to get very overwhelmed, to be struggling with those mental processes, to be perhaps a quick thinker but not always able to articulate things. It depends very much how Gemini shows up for you. So the sort of higher octave, the more beneficial side of Gemini is this intelligence, this quick-wittedness, this gift of language, and astrology is a language as well. We think of languages as, English, French, Afrikaans, but it's also things like maths and music and astrology. They're all languages as well, and arguably they're the languages of the universe, whereas the other languages, the spoken word, are languages of humanity. And if you're into spirituality, you probably want to be leaning more into the languages of the universe. So the higher octaves of Gemini are going to be this giftedness around intelligence, communication, this thirst for knowledge, this ability to be perceptive, to really put your finger on the problem and to then communicate that to an audience. The weakness with Gemini is that we can struggle to listen as much as we're speaking. So that is something that you need to work on if you have a lot of Gemini placements. And it's something to be mindful of with this Gemini new moon as well. Is there somewhere where you need to listen more in your life? That might be with a partner, that might be being still and being quiet and listening to, you know, the universe or God or whatever your perception is. It might be listening to yourself and your inner voice as well. We live in an incredibly overstimulating world. There's a lot coming at us, a lot of sensory things to process. So having that still time is always a good idea, no matter what the moon's doing, no matter what the astrology is doing. And that's completely free. You don't need to buy any equipment to do that. You don't need to prepare any herbal tea. You can go inwards, you can sit with yourself, and you can have 5 minutes peace. So one of the other downsides of Gemini placements can be this lack of focus, can be this scattered, low level, flicking through all the different tabs and not really accomplishing anything. That we can often see, anybody can have a tendency to that, but we see a lot of it with ADHD as well. And I'm speaking as an ADHD person, that's something that I've had to overcome. And I use herbs to great benefit in order to get the most out of my brain, really, because there's a lot going on up there and it's not always easy to harness it. Accountability and owning up to when you're wrong and owning up to, you know, your own responsibility for things going wrong in your life as well. That's a focus of Gemini. That can be like the lower octave of Gemini, something that we don't do super well until we become cognizant of it, until we become aware of it, and then we can work on it. The nice thing about the new and the full moons is that twice a month we get this opportunity to tune in and say, hey, how is this going in my life? And to calibrate and to reassess. And that's the thing that I love most about astrology, is this bringing this awareness to the shadow side of yourself and the things that you are doing well, because it's important to be aware of when we're doing things well, because otherwise you're just bullying yourself. If you're only ever picking up what your weaknesses are, that's not self-awareness, that's self-bullying. You have to also do the other side of that and be aware of what you're doing well, what you've achieved, because when we are looking at this ADHD and autism neurodivergent pattern, we have a tendency to always be looking for the next layer, the next high, the next, you know, achievement, and to not actually sit back and say, hey, last month I achieved this and that, and I'm really proud of myself, and I wasn't able to do that last year. So that would be my first action for you. I would really advise you to just sit down with just a simple piece of paper and just make a list of all the things you've achieved in the last, say, 2 weeks or 4 weeks. And if you do this on a regular basis, you can track this with the moon. This is one of the reasons I got into astrology, because I realized that these things were lining up with what the moon and the stars were already doing anyway. And it gives you this feeling of deeper connection to the universe, which is great, especially if you've had any kind of depression where you've struggled with existential questions about what is the point, or nihilism, or anything like that. I think astrology can be a fantastic tool to build in a routine and build in patterns and build a bit more meaning into your life, and to just be open to it. It might not be for you, that's fine, but if you're 5 minutes into the video, it probably is for you, so give it a try. Now, the last thing I want to say about Gemini placements before we get very into the herbs is this is a fantastic time to stop smoking. Gemini rules the lungs. If you have strong Gemini placements, you should not be smoking. Even more, everybody knows that smoking is bad for you. And I'm saying this as an ex-smoker. I used to really enjoy smoking. I found it very relaxing, very sort of comforting, very takes you out of your mind a little bit. I can very much see the appeal. I'm not preaching. But with strong Gemini placements, you absolutely should not be smoking. It is more risky for you, as Gemini does rule the lungs. This would be a fantastic new moon to quit smoking. If this is the point you're at now where you're thinking about quitting smoking anyway, this would be a fantastic moon to do it, because you can plant that seed of a new intention. The best way to get rid of a bad habit, and I don't really believe in that binary of good or bad. I believe in things like, it's not super helpful for me at this stage, or this is helpful. So if smoking is now an unhelpful habit for you, this would be a fantastic way to replace that habit. You can get my 28-day reset guide to herbal medicine for the overwhelmed. The link is in the bio of all my social medias, and it's on my Etsy store if you're familiar with that. And that talks all about habit stacking, how to get the best out of your particular brain and what herbs to use for that. Because, and this is a hill I will die on, the best way to replace an unhelpful habit is to do something helpful instead. The second you tell your brain, especially if you're neurodivergent, that you can't do something, your brain wants to do it 10 times more, if you're anything like me. We don't like to be told what to do. So just give your brain something else to focus on, and let the thing that you don't want to do to die off, which I think is really helpful. That's one of the methods I used when I was quitting smoking. Now, let's get into the herbs that we're going to be using for this new moon. So because we're focusing on the nervous system, which you know I do a lot of around here, I would like to talk about one of my favourite herbs, which is milky oat tops. If you've had the 28-day reset, either as a patient, because it's free to patients, if you're watching this and you're a current patient of mine and you've not had the reset, drop me a comment or a message and I will send it over to you because it's completely free if you're a current patient. One of the many benefits of being a private patient of mine is you get access to all my courses for free. One of the herbs that I talk about a lot in the 28-day reset because I think it's a really, really important herb. I'm just going to leave it there in case you want to write it down. It's a beautiful, beautiful herb as well. It tastes a little bit like hay on its own, so I would stick it in with something else, but as a tea it is unmatched for nutrition. Really, really wonderful, full of B vitamins, which our nervous systems need anyway, especially if you are a little bit neurospicy, because our brain is one of the most calorie hungry organs in our body, and we just eat up extra B vitamins. Milky oat tops is a wonderful way to remineralize. If you've done my free quiz as well and you got the answer depleted restorer, milky oat tops might be a really nice herb for you to get started on. It's good for sensitive souls as well, if that was one of your outcomes on the quiz. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go to the link in my bio. You can take the free quiz that I put out a couple of months ago. A lot of people have said that it's been helpful for just naming their pattern. And that's a very Gemini thing. If you don't have the language to describe how you're feeling or what's going on for you, it can feel very overwhelming. The minute that we start putting labels and language in place, I have found, and a lot of my patients have reported, that that is helpful for them because they have a concise way to explain what is going on for them. And that is easy to communicate with other people then. It's a shorthand. So the nice thing about milky oat tops is that it really helps to remineralize and balance our exhausted, tired, depleted nervous systems. It's one of the herbs that I take every single day, usually twice a day, just to keep me ticking over because I do a lot and I've got a couple of things going on in the background, like this ADHD, like this autism, like all the chronic illnesses that I've fixed with herbal medicine. I still have the diagnosis, I no longer have the symptoms, and oat tops is one of the reasons that I don't, because it increases our bandwidth, it increases our nervous system bandwidth to hold more, to have more, to give more, and then to go back into the body and mineralize it is a really key part. We've all heard the expression, you can't pour from an empty cup. Oat tops is one of the best examples I know of making sure that your cup stays full. This is good old chamomile. Chamomile is one of my favourite herbs. It is a sympathetic drainer, which if you don't know what I'm talking about, means that if you are in a state of overgiving, overdrive, if you've done my nervous system quiz and you got the result wired achiever, then chamomile will be a really fantastic herb for you, as well as if you've got a sensitive soul. Now, chamomile features in my 28-day reset as well because it is a herb that I rely on for my patients and myself every day. So sympathetic drainer means that if you're in a sympathetic excess, if you're giving a lot of energy, if you have excess energy left over at the end of the day, if you're wired and tired, so your brain's running a million miles an hour but your body's exhausted, chamomile can be great for draining off that mental energy, which we see a lot of with Gemini. I use chamomile a lot because I have so much Gemini in my chart. I have so much thinking power that can be overthinking power, which is not helpful. So I use this every night to give me a sense of, right, it's switch off time, it's time to relax, I finish my work for the day, anything that hasn't got done could be bumped onto tomorrow. And this is the taste of chamomile and the smell of it, because as you may not know, our sense of smell and taste are intrinsically linked with our habits and our memory. And I talk a little bit more about this in the 28-day reset. Chamomile, the scent of it in the evening reminds me that anything that I haven't got done today is fine. It obviously wasn't that urgent, it can be bumped onto the next day, and it helps my brain to say, right, we're just going to switch off, we're going to relax, and it helps to just down-regulate the nervous system. And it's also got lots of beneficial minerals in as well, which is great. It's really, really safe for kids. It's safe for most people. Again, if you're not sure, check with your health professional. There's more information in my 28-day reset about whether this herb may or may not be suitable for you. But it's a really great, easy starter herb, and I recommend that you do start with it if it's suitable for you. Chamomile has got a bit of a reputation for maybe being too gentle, but that's just not true at all. I have patients who have strongly prescribed individual herbal medicine from me in tincture form, which is strong liquid extract. And a liquid extract of Chamomile can be amazing for gut symptoms. I've got several patients with gut symptoms who do really well with chamomile in their blend. Gut symptoms that have not abated for years and years and years with other practitioners, with other medication that they may have tried. So don't dismiss chamomile. It's incredibly powerful and gentle at the same time. And that's the beauty of herbal medicine. You can get both. Chamomile is known as the ultimate child's herb, and Gemini is one of the signs of childlike wonder and childishness in a positive way. So it's a really good opportunity to get in touch with your inner child as well. Both the Gemini new moon and chamomile is a really nice combination. And the last herb that I'm going to talk about today is wood betony, which I don't have an example of right now. It's available in my individually prescribed herbal medicines for my patients. It does really well in a tincture, that liquid extract, rather than a tea. Now, wood betony is one of my go-to herbs for my ADHD folks. I rely on it in my daily mix every day to keep me focused and grounded. It's also a little bit bitter, so it's great if you get any sort of gut symptoms along with your scattered thoughts. When I teach workshops in person and I give people wood betony, the first thing they say is, God, my mind feels quiet. Can't remember the last time my mind felt quiet. And that's a herb that's really, really needed for a lot of us in this very oversaturated, overstimulating world, especially if you are neurospicy. So wood betony would be my go-to. I also love to prescribe wood betony alongside migraine herbs as well. It helps with headaches, which Geminis can be prone to, and you can see more if you have this overthinking tendency. It's almost like your brain gets too hot. Wood betony pairs really well with strongly acting migraine herbs as well, so I tend to pair them together in a prescription, and I've noticed great benefits from doing that. So if you're interested in getting your own individually tailored herbal medicine, you can just send me a DM, send me an email. All the contact information will be wherever you're watching this video. It'll be in the bio or it'll be in the caption, so have a little look and you can get your own tailored mix from me. Now, here's some things that you can do for the Gemini new moon that aren't herbal that I think will benefit. The main one here is going to be breath work. Because Gemini rules the lungs, breath work is going to be really important here. Now, you can go and look up different kinds of breath work styles. You may already have a breath work practice. If you do yoga, you can use something like Ujjayi breath. I think the most simple breath to do that I can show you now is an extended exhale. And what that means is you sit up nice and tall. You can put one hand on your belly, one hand on your chest, and you can breathe in, for example, for a count of 3. Hold it for 2. And then we're going to breathe out for 6. So the out breath is twice as long as the in breath. So if you're breathing in for 3 seconds, you're going to breathe out for 6 seconds. Or if you breathe in for 4 seconds, you're going to breathe out for 8 seconds. It's a really, really simple one that you can just have in your brain. If you're prone to panic attacks, overwhelm, being in supermarkets and feeling like you're on a runaway, this one is a really good one for stimulating the parasympathetic side of the nervous system, which in plain language means it calms you down, really simply, because when our nervous system is panicked, we start to breathe shallow, our heart starts racing. So this is the opposite of that. The nervous system is a two-way communication system in your body that tells you whether or not you are safe, but you can also tell it that you are safe, even if that's not quite true yet. Even if you don't quite feel that you are safe, you can give this information to your nervous system, then it can start all the down-regulating patterns. The thing that I think would be really helpful under this Gemini new moon is to start a journaling practice if you don't already have one. I am a massive fan of journaling to improve your mindset, which is fundamental to changing your health. I recommend that all my patients start some kind of journal, even if that's 4 words an evening on their phone in their notes app, or you can get a great big journal. I'm writing and releasing a journal this year, not this month, good God. So if that's something you're interested in, let me know and I can put you on like the pre-orders list, or you can send me your email. I can let you know when it's going to be out. I think the act of handwriting a journal is a lost art that will probably die off very, very quickly unless we deliberately keep it alive. And there's so much benefit from handwriting things. It's been shown to improve our memory and it can activate our reticular activating activating system as well, which is a part of our brain that is scanning for information. So if your thoughts are along the lines of, this is rubbish, my life's crap, this always happens to me, your reticular activating system is a little bit like a filter, but it's also like a mirror, and it will say, okay, Charlotte's life is crap, I'm going to show her more things that are crap. So one of the ways you can change this is by becoming really aware of your thoughts, which is where the journaling comes in. And if you are keeping something like a gratitude list in your journal, that signals to your brain, oh, Charlotte has a lot to be grateful for. I'm going to show her more things to be grateful for. This practice has absolutely changed my life, and I talk a lot about this in 28-Day Reset, so again, you can grab that to learn more about it. So I hope this video has been helpful for you. Let me know what you're doing for the Gemini new moon. If you're completely new to any of these practices, let me know which one you're going to start with. If you're an old hat at this, let me know which one's resonated, and have a wonderful new moon. Bye.